morning. Welcome to Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. We got some definite perspectives about old age this morning. Not that our guest is old by any stretch of the imagination. I handle that department. But we decided to do away with kudos today. Something was said about taking a knee just as we went on air. And that kind of piqued something in the back of my singular cell back up there that's supposed to be a brain. And it got mad all of a sudden. I say the only way you ought to take a knee is worship your God and Maker, whomever He is in your own religion. And Judith and I were talking about the state of our country, or the lack of the state of our country as we were coming up this morning. And so both of you listeners, pull up your chair this morning. Judith is going to talk about Red Skelton for just a minute. Go right ahead, Mrs. Busby.
Yes, Red Skelton did this on January 14th, 1969. And now, of course, it's the cause célèbre on all the news channels. It's the Pledge of Allegiance, and it begins with I. Me, an individual, a committee of one. Pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people. For which it stands, one nation, meaning so blessed by God. Indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or quality of dealing fairly with others, for all. For all, which means boys and girls. It's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. And then he adds, parenthetically, since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance, under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer, and that would be eliminated from schools too?
Anybody out there in the air remember seeing Red Skelton do that? I can see it in my mind's eye, just indelibly ingrained. And I can see him exactly the way he did that and the way he delivered that. A class of entertainers that unfortunately very few exist today, the class of that man, and his fellow entertainers of that era. I understand, we all understand the First Amendment. And this kneeling thing, it's just going absolutely asininely crazy. It's just, everybody's all worked up about that. And it distills down to common sense and patriotism. Those are the words that the whole thing distills down to that. Let's not take too much time to this because we've got a great guest this morning.
Yes.
648-5510. We have gotten on our soapbox. We're now going to step back down, and we're going to introduce a great guest, a gentleman for whom I have a great deal of respect, and he's going to retire from active duty, and I'm glad for him. But I'm sorry for the seniors. Go right ahead.
I am too. Yes, he is a heck of a leader. And a nice man, too, aren't you?
That's what his wife says.
Some say.
Kids like him, too. Dom Dalpoas is the CEO at the Oasis, and I don't think it takes a whole lot of explanation. I think everybody knows what the Oasis is and where it is. And it's just interesting to go out there during the day because there are people, and the activities are innumerable. And Dom, you've done such a great job before and after the fire. We were talking, Dom Dalpoas, Bill and I, about the fire, and that was a terrible thing, but it ended up being, if it's possible, a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, how do you
because
have
you
a
got a lot
fortuitous
more
fire?
parking than you used to have.
You know, there's just so much. One of these days, if I get a little older, I'm going to go out there and associate with those folks and have a little fun. You've got a lot of activities going out there, Dom. Let's first and foremost tell us when you first became acquainted with affiliated with the Oasis when it was down in the old First National Bank building.
Well, I worked at the developmental center for 30 plus years and retired from that job in the end of 2000. Prior to that, I was using some time prior to that retirement, and both my wife and I thought, well, I was 53 years old and I needed to do something other than just retire.
Yeah.
So I went downtown and I was looking at all the signs in the storefront windows as help wanted, and every time I saw one of those signs, I went in and filled out an application. And I was coming down Pulaski Street, and I just so happened to see a help wanted sign in really what I didn't know was the Oasis at that time. And I walked in, and there was a lady sitting at a desk, and all the rest of the place I went in, I filled out 2- and 3-page applications. At the Oasis, I went in and I said, well, I'm here to apply for a job. I didn't know what job it was. I was just applying for a job. And she said, well, what's your name? She wrote it down, and she said, how do we reach you? I gave her my phone number. And that was it.
That was your qualification, huh?
That was it. And I thought, my goodness.
Qualification.
I walked out and I went home and I remember thinking, I'm not sure what I'm even applying for or what actually happened. And shortly thereafter, I got a call from Dean Baker, who was the superintendent of the Beeson School District, and I thought he was calling me to officiate something because I used to officiate a lot of different sports, and so we had a little conversation, and he said, well, you want to come in for your interview? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll come in for an interview. But I said, well, what am I applying for?
What is the job?
Yeah, what is the job? So, and then as I got acquainted, I actually was fortunate enough to get the position and started in January of 2001. And of course, we were at that site until June 21 of 2013 when the storm came through, lightning struck, the fire, and went through a whole course of things. Then we ended up out west where we do have additional parking. We have a lot more program space, and we have all those kind of nice features, really.
Well,
Nice
but you
features,
need a lot of
exactly.
space for your programs. You have so many programs. You've got something for everybody, really.
That's our whole goal, is to have a broad enough program base that it'll appeal to just about any person, whether you are a generation ahead, 1 or 2 ahead of me, or 1 or 2 behind me. It should appeal, and we have enough services, or we have tried to get enough services to help individuals with some very specific things they need.
Yeah, we just recently had another fundraiser, and very successful. I hope it was economically successful. It was very pleasant. The pancake sausage breakfast Sunday day was nicely done. That's one thing when you have public events for the people, they sure as heck get their money's worth.
Yeah, we try to make sure that everyone gets what we consider to be a fair deal on that, just like we're talking about the Pledge of Allegiance or anything else. You're talking about everyone getting a fair deal for justice and all. But yeah, we had a very nice turnout. We had nearly 300 people come to that breakfast. The community as a total, Logan County I'm speaking of, supports that center very, very generously. And we had 300 people come to the breakfast. We have a committee. If I were to take credit for all of this, it would be so terrible of me not to mention that we have committees of folks that work very tirelessly at that, at planning it and making sure that everything's arranged in the right order and things. And we had a committee put that all together, and we had a pie auction that went with it. We had 40 pies, and we received $869 profit, because
Is that right?
we have bakers that we just have some of the best bakers in the world,
Right.
honestly, because they made 42 different varieties of pie, and folks bought them. And
Tony Reifsteck has a good bent on that pie auction business. You can, it's just a paper plate with a sign on it that says to call her and tell her what kind of pie you want, and do you want it for Thanksgiving or for your grandson's birthday?
that's exactly right. Whatever you want, she'll bake. She actually does 2.
Isn't that
Yeah,
amazing?
well,
3. I'm sorry, 3.
Now,
Yeah.
you mentioned the Lincoln Developmental Center. I want to digress just a couple of minutes. You worked with under Larry Buzzard when he was out there.
Yes, I did.
Larry and I were we were next door neighbors at one point in time. And one day, this is a quick story, but one evening he came home from work and he's laughing. He came over next door to tell me this story. We had a higher up from Springfield in the Department of Illinois Department of whatever they call that. Anyway, he came down there doing an inspection tour, and he had a problem with he had a bad earache. And Larry said, well, maybe I better take you over to the dispensary. And of course, we had doctors from the Middle East and so forth there that was good. They came over, they got jobs, and they performed very well for us. And this doctor is looking at this fellow's ear. He says, "Oh yeah, you have an obstruction of your fallopian tube." That's a true story. That's a true story.
Yeah.
oh heck.
It's bad when you can see that from there.
To this day, Larry will laugh about that. He came next door. All right, let's get back to serious business with the Oasis. That just popped
heck.
into my mind. I'll carry that with me till I'm dust.
Oh gosh, yes, that's a good one.
Go ahead, Judy.
Well, I think maybe we could address some of these programs. Now, Bill, here's one that you take advantage of: the foot care.
Yes,
Yes, and
that's a godsend to those of us whose eyesight isn't what it used to was, and also whose backs aren't what they used to was, bending over.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's a real service for folks.
Yes, it is. We have a registered nurse who's really dedicated to that particular program.
She is that.
And she travels up from the southernmost parts of our service area, and she comes up and provides that almost on a every Tuesday basis. It's an every other Tuesday right now, but there are times when they have to schedule. There are like 230 people that are actively involved in that program that get scheduled out over a 3-month period, because apparently it's a 3-month interview from toe trim to toe trim. It takes about a 3-month period. For some, it's a little quicker, but that's the average.
Mm-hmm.
So,
The best $10 an old person is going to spend on themselves,
yeah,
I'll tell you.
it's $1 a toe.
Yeah.
Well,
that's just one little
that's
program we
10
have out there.
unless you've had a bad accident.
That's yeah. And there's no discounts for bad accidents.
Well, and rules of the road. You know, this year that my name was drawn out of the hat to do the driving test as well as the eye test.
Oh.
And I didn't have to do the written test. I don't know if people have to do that anymore.
I don't know. I haven't taken one in some time.
Well, I did.
Did you recently?
Yeah, just when I renewed mine, I had to take
I
the
don't
written
remember.
test.
I probably did. Don't remember it.
Well, now you've got a course that people can take free of charge to prepare them.
It's it's sponsored by the Secretary of State's office, and Ed is the instructor, and he comes up 5 times a year, quarterly, and then he comes up one extra time to provide just what I don't know how to say it, but he provides instructions to keep your test anxiety down, because to keep you abreast of what the rules are, how they've changed, where the car seats. When I was growing up, they had no such thing as safety seats, safety belts, or anything else, and now, of course, it's mandatory for everyone. To give you kind of a quick rule change on all of those things, and folks have been very appreciative, because the more knowledge you have, the more relaxed you are when you go in to take those kind of written tests, which, like I said, I just did here in June, and the more successful you are. So
nothing's changed. That used to be my mantra in high school. If I didn't know what I was talking about, I didn't like those tests very well. I was prepared. So the same thing is true today, now where there's seniors. And it's true that some of us have no business being behind a wheel. That's just the way it is.
Yes.
Others, I know a lady who's 100 years old, and she's a lot sharper than you and I are.
Well, not sharper than you, babe.
Yep.
Well, you're prejudiced. So this is a service that we offer.
Yes.
And it's a comfort zone for those folks who are going out there and take that driver's test.
Yes, it is. It's very much a comfort. As I said, it's a very relaxed atmosphere. It's not a high-pressure thing. There's no, quote, test after you get through. You just get information, and you get he goes through a mock test as well to kind of get you familiarized with how the test looks and how the questions asked and those sorts of things. So it's a lot of information. It's a lot of good information for folks that are going to take their driver's test and have to take the written part.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't taken that since I was 16. And subtract that from 78. It's been that many years ago. You know, it would make you feel a little better.
It does. It
to go in and have some idea what you're facing.
Oh yeah, it does. And for most folks to get into our generation, are more visually oriented. They like to see what's happening along with the discussion, and like I said, those handouts provide that visual stimulus, and he gives you the lecture part of it as well. So it's a very worthwhile course. It really is. If anyone out in the audience is going to be taking their exam, they need to check the newsletter to see. I don't think the next one is until December, but I'm not sure of that. I'd have to.
We appreciate your newsletter. It's very informative, and the calendar in the newsletter lets you know what the heck's going on out there. And there's a lot going on out there every day.
And it would let you know when my birthday is, too, so you don't forget.
Oh, I did that once, didn't I?
And you have hearing screenings, blood pressure checks, right along.
Yeah, we have hearing screenings. Anyone wishing to have their hearing tested, there's lots of gentlemen come in that apparently have they're tone deaf, and it's specific to their wife's voice. It seems like, and I'm not sure if it's an auditory problem or otherwise, but they're forced to come in.
Psychological as opposed to physiological. Yeah.
Oh heck!
Yeah, that's kind of a common disease in most households.
Yes, it
when
is.
you get to be in the 75 and up, that becomes a lot more prevalent.
You know, there's a membership fee to be part of the Oasis. It's $10 a year, and really what it does is defray the cost of this newsletter, which is very worthwhile, like Bill says. Then you know what day you can go. If you want to talk with the VA, if you want to talk with legal aid, if you want to talk with if you want to play bingo, you'll know when to go.
Yeah.
Question about the VA, Dominic. Now that Joe Shaler's been so successful, God love him, we sure appreciate what he does and did. We have our new Veterans Office up in the courthouse now, thanks to Joe and his referendum. We've always had a gentleman come from, I believe, Decatur for the Veterans Administration. Do we still have much of that out there now that we have our own office in the courthouse?
Yeah, they work in conjunction with one another. We have the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs sends a representative to the Oasis on the 2nd and 4th, or I'm not sure if the 2nd and 4th, the 1st and 3rd, but anyway, every other Tuesday. And he's able to help veterans with various aspects of it. Joe plays a role in Logan County and
Go-between.
it's a go-between between
We
those
work in
two
conjunction
agencies.
with our sponsors, too.
Okay.
Because we're going to take a few minutes' time and recognize them. And we're right back here live in the studios of WLCN on program of The Viewpoint, as always, each Wednesday morning at 8:15 to 0900 hours. And always work hard to get good guests, and by golly, we've got a great one this morning. Dominic Dalpoas has been the director of the Oasis, a senior citizen center out there in the west side of town. Since he got interviewed back in 06. Didn't know what he was interviewing for, but the time it's worked. It's been a good mix. It's worked very well. The seniors are out there, appreciate Dom's presence out there every day. He works well with people, and he's got a great group with whom he works. Got a lot of great volunteers. Got a good staff out there too.
Yes,
you have a very good staff out there, Dom. Unfortunately for the Oasis, and very fortunately for Dom, he has submitted his resignation. And as I told him in his office, I'm sure glad for him. I'm not very happy for the Oasis people. He's earned this. So we wanted to get Don aboard one final time and talk about this great program out there on the west side of town in the old restaurant, which I believe was Rusty's, as I remember. Mm-hmm. And happily it was available after the fortuitous fire that the Oasis building had down there in the old First National Bank building. And we've got a lot going out there, thanks to Mr. Dalpoas and his staff. So we talked about Medicare just before we were off air there. It's a very foreign subject to so many.
It is. It's not, especially for the generation we're serving now. Medicare is coming upon an open enrollment period. So if any person has a Medicare Part D program, it should be checked annually. And October 15th through December 7th is the time period in which to do that. It's a free service. You can come out to the Oasis. We've had folks that really had more or less financial disaster stories where people just keep the same program and pay $2,000 to $3,000 more in medication than they had to pay. So it's a program where you, if you're on a Medicare Part D program, you want to get it checked beginning October 15th through December 7th. It's very, very important. I can't stress that enough for folks. There's
going to be a new card.
That's beginning in April of 2018. Congress on all our behalves has enacted a law where they're removing the Social Security number from the Medicare card. Mm-hmm. So they're assigning random letters and numerals. When you have a mass change like that in our country, really what follows are predators. They follow and they try to scam folks.
And they do.
And they do, unfortunately. No one from the government should call you in terms of asking for your number to give you a new number or anything like that. It all should happen through the mail, and it should happen very effectively that way. And it's going from April of 18 through April of 19. So it's not going to be a 1 month and done program. It's actually scheduled for a 12-month implementation period. So please don't give away numbers, because those are vital to your identity, and everyone knows what can happen when you lose that.
Mr. Dalpoas mentioned Congress, which reminded me of the thing I saw not too long ago. You know, when you have a herd of cows or so forth, you know what a group of baboons are called?
What?
Congress. Further deployment saith not.
How about in our case, in this sovereign state of legislature?
And I think that analogy sometimes rings awfully true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Yes. Now, you can tell us how the Oasis is going to dovetail with the enrollment period here.
Well, we have 4 trained SHIP, SHIPs, Senior Health Insurance Program officials at the center. They're trained in how to navigate the website in terms of getting the best suited drug program for you. So if you come out, make an appointment, call the Oasis, make an appointment for, like I said, beginning October 15th. That's on a Sunday, so it would be Monday the 16th. But call, make an appointment. You have one-on-one with a counselor. We'll take you, bring your medication list with you. The medication list is inputted into the computer, and actually it works very, very well. The computer sorts the programs as to the most economical program to the most expensive program, and you make your choices from there.
One thing that I think has kind of a clever title is the Gould and Years Fair, and that's because it's October 27th, which is real close to the 31st.
It is very close. That was, that is very clever. And that's going to be a health fair of sorts that we're hosting out there from the Healthy Community Partnership, the group. We're going to be the site for that particular event on that date. And if anyone wants to come out and get some free things as well as some free checkups, that's the time to do it.
Which reminds me also, on Saturday, October the 21st, they're going to have, and they do this often, they have dances out there often, and I think they get a pretty good group out there, don't they, as far as attendance is concerned, Mr. Dalpoas?
Yeah, we have that's a dinner dance, and the dinner dance are very widely attended, and we have a mostaccioli and green beans and garlic bread, and I'm not sure.
Fair enough on the price, only $12. It's a costume ball.
It's a costume ball. It's a
for those who are inclined.
Yeah, I tell you, for folks in our age group, the government sends out surveys all the time and sends out statistics all the time, and the more that you can have social and exercise and all those things combined into one, in this particular dance meets all of that criteria. It's just a fun time, and it's a healthy time for folks to be out and about. We'd love to have a large crowd for that. No matter whether we have one person or 100 people, the team works just as hard to put that on. So
right.
It's a nice thing. So, and the meal's great. The meal will be perfect. So
You also used the word exercise. Maybe you could address that a little bit. I'm not sure everybody knows about.
Very nice little modest exercise room in there. Very nice.
It has all kinds of passive equipment in there, so none of it's plugged into the wall, so you don't have to worry about it driving you. You drive the equipment. So you'd go
at your speed,
at your level of resistance, at your pace. And we also have an exercise track in the back of the building, just north of the building as well. So those two things combined, exercise is one of those programs that seniors seem to be very lax on.
Yes.
That's as you
get lazy.
Yes, as you get a little older, you lose your energy and you're not as willing to participate, but it's actually one of those things that sustains life or sustains health, a healthy lifestyle. So,
talk a little bit about your track that's on the north side of the building.
The track's 1/6 of a mile, and we have a walking group that utilize it on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We have about I go out there early in the morning. I go out there sometimes late in the evenings, and we have about a dozen people in the mornings. We have about a dozen people in the evenings that, on a regular basis, that I see that use that track. And I've seen families out there, and that's really one of the goals of the track, was to bring an intergeneration where you have a grandparent, you have their child, and you have their grandchildren, all able to form good exercise habits together. And of course the grandchildren are running around the people that are walking, but that's still, it gives the idea that
blame it on their youth.
Yes, they have a lot more energy.
You want to believe it. And now, at the risk of jumping ahead here, you're going to be having Christmas type festivities out there too, including an open house in the gift shop.
We're having an open house in the gift shop on November 8th, 9th, and 10th, and we're actually having a chili meal that late afternoon or evening of the 10th. So, and there's lots of discounts and prizes for your Christmas decorations and all that sort of thing. So that's the gift shop part of it. We have a holiday festival coming up on December 8th, which is a Friday, and December 9th, which is a Saturday. We have a chicken meal, and we have a meatloaf meal for those two events there. And we invite cookies by the pound and all those sorts of things.
Now, a question to have on those meals. They do a nice job. Now, Gene and I have not taken advantage of that because we don't go out much at night anymore. But you do not have to be a member per se to come out and enjoy those meals, or do you?
No, you don't have to be a member. For anything that we do at the senior center, you do not have to be a member to participate at all. Membership, as Judy was pointing out, helps defray the newsletter, and the newsletter costs us about $8,000 annually to print and get it out. So it's a hefty price tag.
That's a significant number, Dominic.
Yeah, it's a significant number. And the $10 helps defray those costs as long as the sponsors as well that help sponsor that newsletter, the advertisers on the bottom page of each of those lists there help support that as well.
Well, and the newsletter is very worthwhile to people because it gives you the calendar in there for 2 months, and it tells you what day the trip is going to be, what day the foot care is going to be, what day the VA is.
Yeah.
So it's worth having for darn sure.
Let's bet your little side trips that you take from time to time,
Yes.
where we charter a bus and go to somewhere.
Well,
Wherever that is.
we have our own bus that we take day trips with, and then we have the chartered bus. Now we're sponsoring a trip to New Orleans in the spring of next year, 2018. March 19, I think, is one trip, and March 26 is the other trip, or I might have them mixed up a little bit. But those trips to, such as New Orleans, we really put those trips out as more of a service than we do anything else. We try to make it so that we don't add a lot of cost to the trip other than what the cost of the
What
trip,
it costs.
what the cost of the trip is. But those, in fact, we have a meeting on the New Orleans trip on October 23rd. It's a Monday. All these dates are a little
Is
fuzzy
that
to
for public
me.
information?
Yes, to get information, to get an idea of how much it's going to cost, when this is due, when that's due, and all those sorts of
It'd be a
things.
nice trip. That would include, obviously, when you're going to New Orleans, you go to that World War II museum down there, which is just
Absolutely.
something else.
My son just got back from there, and he said that was a must-see.
It is a must-see, yes.
That is a
Yes.
must-see.
I wouldn't mind doing that again.
I have friends who have gone on those bus trips, and they've had the best time.
Normally we do. It's when you have 50 people, then everybody, as I've said these talks before, everyone has to start to march to the same beat. You stop at the same time. Everyone should take advantage of the restrooms. So you're starting to get all synchronized on the same beat, so to speak. And you stop and you have the meals, and you stop and you do this, and you do things together. And it's what's wonderful about it is I've been on one of those trips, and to see good, wholesome people from our county bond together, and it's wonderful. It really is. It's a heart-raising.
Well, it's a real service, and it's not very expensive.
No, it's not expensive.
Oh, my, no. Well, and then there are the more local trips that you referenced that are on our own van.
Yeah, we have a 14-passenger van, and we try to go to day trips, or when you go to someplace and back. They just went to Arcola. Lots of those trips involve shopping. I preference not to go on lots of those trips because I'm not really the preferred shopper of the house. I delegate that duty to others. So
Just as well.
yeah. So and then we go to different shows and different
Yes.
events. In fact, I drove to St. Louis and went to a ball game. We went to a Cardinal ball game down there, and it was a nice trip. So those, and they give people that have a common interest a place to go, and they don't have to make arrangements for tickets and seats and all that transportation. It's all done for them, so it gets them out of the house and socializing.
You know, we hear these horror stories of people as the years go by being so alone, having absolutely no fraternization with anybody else. And there's certainly not a need for that in Logan County, because we have the Oasis, where if you go out there any afternoon and walk through there, there's 100 people playing cards and laughing, and they just have the best time.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's being alone is something you should not and don't need to do in Logan County, honestly, because it's one of those things that's not good for you mentally or physically. So the more you stay involved, and younger generations are becoming more isolated. They're not, community groups are not their things, and we need to foster that, because it's important as human beings to be with other people.
For your mental health.
Yes.
And that's what you offer out there at the Oasis. 648-5510. It occurs to me, both of you listeners out there, that nobody's called in to wish Don well. Dom, we don't want to lose him, but the fact is that we're going to. And what are you going to do in your retirement now, Mr. Dalpoas?
Well,
are you going to go out and apply blind for another job like you did last time you retired?
You might try that. It worked pretty well.
I was going to walk downtown streets again and just to see what's available. My wife has a long list. I've seen it. She's checked it more than twice, and there's a list to do some of those kinds of things. And then I want to stay active doing something, but I'm not exactly sure. I've got a dozen grandchildren now, so that's a lot of activity in and of itself. So
you might try the Oasis. I understand that's a lot of activity.
The Oasis is an option as well.
Yes. Now, I know some of your grandkids live very close, because I worked for one of them for 16 years.
Well, that's the son.
Yes. So, and his kids live close to you.
Yes.
Yes. But are the others in close proximity or not?
Well, I have 5 grandchildren here, and then I have 4 grandchildren in St. Louis and 3 grandchildren in Indiana. They're all within a day's drive.
Oh, how nice!
Yeah, so yes, we get to see them frequently. In fact, we drove down for Grandparents' Day just not too long ago to St. Louis. Spent 2 hours to get there, and we spent probably an hour and a half there, and then you spend 2 hours back. So that's how that goes. But it was well worth it. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I went to my great-grandson's Grandparent Day, and it was really nice. Yeah. It was fun. It's good to be a grandparent and a great-grandparent, but you haven't done that yet.
No, and the great thing about it is I have nothing to do with it from this point forward.
I don't recommend it, because it means you're going to get a hell of a lot older if you have a great-grandparent. So I'm not going to recommend it in your case right now. Just stick with the grands.
In fact,
you'll be fine.
We each have a great-grandchild named Liam. And they're about the same age, about a year apart.
2 of the most handsome kids you ever saw.
Yeah. We're prejudiced.
Yes.
Dom, as we wind down here, just kind of off the shoulder here, catch you blindsided. Is there any experience you've had down there that has been unusual, either on the humorous side or maybe not the humorous side, that you can recall on a quick notice?
Yeah, I can recall. There were some very touching moments that I've experienced, and one was shortly after I became a director in 2001, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and the group that I was working for was magnanimous in allowing me to help my dad, because he was always there for me, so I'll never forget that. And then we were in a campaign we were getting a bus, and we were in a campaign to see if we could raise funds, and I had this lady come in who was well into the aging process, and she hobbled in, she sat down in a chair, and she says, "I want you to know that I'm going to give you and she went in to explain what she was going to give us. It was going to be like $200 over a 3-month period that she was going to donate. She did not have a lot of means to her financial, but she sacrificed. She says, I'm not going to be able to go on any of these trips, but I think it's so important for others to do. And that really struck me.
Bless
Well,
her
yes.
heart.
That really struck me, because you find I've had five what I call negative or bad incidents over 17 years, which is not too bad for
Minimal.
anybody really. But all those incidents I'm recalling are all very positive and very, very nice.
What an altruistic thing to do for that lady, knowing that she physically couldn't do it, but she wanted other people to be able to do it, and she was kind of robbing herself a little bit because she was obviously a very modest means.
Yes, absolutely.
And
And
It made
what a
deep
gift to
impression for
you.
me.
Interesting.
You know, to be able to meet somebody who was that loving and giving.
Absolutely.
That's a gift.
That is a gift. It made a very deep impression for me. Very
Oh,
deep.
forever.
Yeah.
No,
Dominic, the clock has hit the wall. Every week we have the same problem, Judith K. We look at the same clock, and it's always the same. It comes up 9 o'clock. Sure enough. So, do you have anything you'd like to close with, Mr. Dalpoas? You have been a real asset to the older people in our community, and we appreciate what you've done. That's why we wanted to get you on here just before you officially retire. We don't know exactly when that date's going to be. They're going to come up with a substitute for you, and it'll be a substitute. It won't be Dom, but that's what life is. We all step out of the way and let somebody else get in and take their whack at it.
Take their whack is right. But the one thing I'd like to say is that all the volunteers that have worked so hard all the year without any kind of recognition or fanfare, my gratitude to all of them.
We're going to close with a quote about aging, which one of these days I may start doing. It has to do with facing up to age and what it is. Count your life by smiles, not tears. Count your age by friends, not years. Thank you, Dominic Dalpoas, very much, sir.
Thank you so much.